Good morning, guys. It is a pleasure to be here and amazing to look out over this audience. I see a lot of great friends in here, and then I see some new friends. So I'm excited to be here and talk to you a little bit about, I guess, what I call my passion. You've heard a lot about kind of what I do professionally with speaking and being an attorney, what I do in the community, being elected a member of Columbia City Council. But my passion really is working with women, particularly moms, working moms, to help them understand our greater purpose in this world. And so I want to start off first and ask y'all in here, who in here, men and women, who in here thinks that you have work-life balance figured out? That you understand, you're the guru of work-life balance, you know how to juggle everything and do it all perfectly? Hands raised. All right, we'll see. I don't see many hands raised, so I'm going to tell you some good news, okay? Work-life balance is unachievable. Okay. So don't be bad on yourself. Don't be upset that you can't work, you don't have work-life balance. Because when I first got elected, I was single, no kids, just superwoman running around doing all this stuff. I got married, started having children, still trying to do things, and people would always say, Tameika, how do you do it all? Come talk to us about work-life balance. And what I would always tell people is the reason that I do it all is because I'm not trying to achieve this elusive work-life balance. The picture you see up here, the first one is when I first got elected and then had my first child, who's now 14. She was about 2 years old, and we were in the city budget. So I had this huge binder that I had to go through at City Hall, and daycare was closed. What do? You're a working mom, daycare is closed, you've still got to work. So I brought her to City Hall with me, let her play on the desk while I'm reading the voluminous city budget. The second one is at a press conference, and at that time I had 2 kids, so I've got my oldest and then my middle child there in tow, because again, school was closed and I had to be somewhere. What do? You take your kids with you. And so I had to really think about, what does work-life balance mean to me? And I had to realize that work-life balance to me is something that, I'm going to skip over that. That's work-life balance to me is something that doesn't exist. And the reason I think that most of us try to say it exists is because what society has told us for many, many years about work-life balance. So these 2 ladies, I'm going to have to say, for my millennials and Gen Zers, I was given a talk to millennials, and people were like, they didn't know who these ladies were. So I'm going to date myself. So millennials and Gen Zers, over here we've got Florida Evans, and we've got June Cleaver. How many of y'all remember those? I'm not the only one, right? Okay, so this is more of my crowd. So, for society for so long has taught us kind of what it means to be a woman. We started off years ago, we had Florida Evans and June Cleaver. Neither one of them worked. They were stay-at-home moms, which there is a great pride and joy in being a stay-at-home mom. But I think for those of us who want to work outside the home, we were taught that, that really isn't what you're supposed to be. To be a good wife and mom, you need to be home. You need to be there and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and the husband, and that is what brings you joy. And you shouldn't want anything else. And so I think so many times when women wanted to, because either they had to work outside of the home or wanted to do something, society was kind of telling us initially, that's not what you want. And then we evolved a little bit to this lady, Claire Huxtable. Yeah, I grew up watching and loving Claire Huxtable. I always knew I wanted to be an attorney. So, she was an attorney, she was a great wife, she had all these amazing kids that she didn't have any mom guilt for working outside the home. All her kids didn't have problems, or if they had problems, they were solved in 27 minutes, and everybody was happy, and she looked fearless. And then my favorite part was she had an amazing clap back that no matter who came to her, she knew how to put them down really, really quickly. Okay. So that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be Claire Huxtable. But the other thing about Claire Huxtable, again, this was unachievable. You never saw Claire feel like, oh, I shouldn't work outside of home, except for the one time that, her daughter brought a man home who's, questioned why she wasn't cooking for her husband. But other than that, she never had that mom guilt. And so, this is kind of what society and media has shown us over the years. So no wonder we all felt like, okay, I'm not getting to where I need to be. There's something wrong because I'm not able to juggle all these things and do it perfectly and look flawlessly and, have nothing go wrong. And so for me, I realized that because that was unachievable, I would stop using the term work-life balance. And so I started using the term work-life integration. So for me, work-life integration is finding the synergy between your professional and personal life. So I truly believe that I am one complete person. I think no one in here doesn't think they're a complete person, right? You don't have something kind of missing. So we're all a complete person, but all who I'm made up to be is I'm wife, I'm mom, I'm councilwoman, I'm lawyer, I'm speaker, I'm community advocate. All of that is part of who I am, and it's not fair to myself and not fair to you if you deny any part of you because it makes someone else happy or because that's what someone expects of you. And so for me, work-life integration allows you to be true to yourself and your goals and not sacrificing what is truly important to you. So the question becomes, what's important to you and how do you figure out, how do you integrate those things so that you're really truly being true to yourself? So I just want to share this. This is something I found online. I love it. It's the summary of the Proverbs 31 woman. And to me, this clearly tells us, it epitomizes work-life integration for me. It's the perfect picture of a busy woman running her home, going to work, building a business, making investment decisions, and giving to her community while continuing to be the bedrock to her family, a supportive wife, and a wonderful mom. So that kind of pulls it all together. I mean, she's making money, she's investing, she's doing it all. And so, but she's doing it all on her terms. So that's the key, doing it all on her terms. What works for Tameika may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. And so we've got to get to the point where we recognize what's important to us, where are our priorities, and then how do you make sure that you're pulling together everything to be happy. So the first thing I wanted to share before I go, and I'm going to share with you a couple tips, my favorite work-life integration tips. I will tell you that in the time that I have, I can't share with you like all my favorite work-life integration tips, but I will just encourage you that if you want to know more, my business is Possibilities Institute. If you go to my website, there's a way that you can download some work-life integration tips that have some very practical things that work for me that may be useful to you. But the first thing I want to share with you is you got to really discover your why. In order to understand what your priorities are, you got to understand what drives you and why that is. And so if anybody in here has ever done the 7 levels deep, this is adapted from Dean Grazioso in his book, and he talks about going down 7 layers deep, asking yourself why you do things. And I facilitated a retreat last week with a business, and I asked them the question, why do you work here? And so the first answer was to get a paycheck. Yeah, that makes sense to me. But really, why do you work here? And when you go down 7 layers deep, you realize your true why. And so the person who started off saying, I work here because I want to get a paycheck, ultimately they came back to, they believed in the mission of where they worked because of their childhood. They had a childhood where they worked in wildlife, and they don't see kids getting out in the environment anymore. And that was their true why. And so I was explaining to them that if you let that true why really develop where you are and then push you and motivate you, you'll have an opportunity to know what your true priorities are. So this is what kind of my visual of work-life integration. And so again, I think it's giving yourself permission to let your priorities drive your actions. And so the priorities in the middle, you have work, that's still the priorities in the middle of your work. Then your family and your personal life, still the priorities are in the middle of that. And then your overall life, your priorities. So, anyone asks me, and I see Barbara and Melissa, good friends of mine, everybody, people who know me can tell you what's my why. My family, my kids. I mean, everything that drives me is them. And that means working hard, and that means playing hard. I'll tell you that no matter what you do, you're not going to make everybody happy. So I'm going to give you permission to not care what anybody else thinks. When you stop caring what everybody else thinks, you feel freer to do things. I'll share with you again, my kids are my why, so I tend to, what you can tell by all the businesses that I have and everything that I do, I travel a lot. I'm gone probably 2 or 3 days out of the month somewhere else. But when I'm here, I'm really trying to be here. And so it's interesting that I had one time, I had someone tell somebody, you know, you always have people who come back and tell you what other people say about you. And I had somebody tell me, said that somebody made the comment that, I don't know how why she's always gone. She's never home with her kids. She's always traveling. Within 2 weeks later, I had someone else tell me, I had a speaking engagement and I took my kids with me. I had 2 girls then, I have 3 kids now. I had 2 kids and I took my kids with me, and somebody else told me that somebody said, she takes her kids everywhere. She should leave them home sometime. So, you know, you can't win. I realize you can't win. You can't please everybody. I mean, what is it? I'm gone so much that I'm leaving my kids all the time, and then I'll have my kids all the time. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways. So I realized, look, I am 46 years old, soon to be 47. I have 2 paid jobs, 3 businesses. I have 3 kids, ages 14, 9, and 2. So I stopped caring what people thought about me a long time ago. And so when you start being free and understanding that what is your priorities and give yourself permission to allow them to drive what you're doing, you're not going to worry about what other people think. If your goal and your priorities are driving what you do, everything is going to work out. So this is another little figure I have. So you got your family, your work, your community involvement, all of that as part of who you are. And I mentioned before about being a complete person. If you're saying, okay, well, I'm working and that's it, but when I go home, I'm going to be very present and I leave work at home. That's very laudable. That's a good goal to have. We understand that's not always achievable, especially in the high-powered jobs a lot of us have and what's going on at work. We can't always leave work at home. I mean, goodness, I'm a counsel person and a lawyer. Last night I had, I do probate law. Last night I had a lady calling me at 10:15 because she has an issue with a loved one who is aging, and she really didn't know what to do. I don't try to answer calls after 10 o'clock at night all the time, but sometimes it's necessary. But I also, next Monday is Veterans Day, and I'm not working, and I'm going to be the biggest, loudest chaperone down at the Veterans Parade with my 9-year-old. And so I make sure that I am pulling all that together. So I'm going to quickly, in the rest of the time that I have, go over some of my favorite, like I said, favorite work-life integration tips. Again, I'm not going to get to all of them and not going to get into them really detailed, but go to my website and I'll have it up here at the end as well, and you can download my work-life integration tips. Disclaimer, I'm going to tell you, I know people are always like, oh yeah, I want to do that, but she's going to send me emails every single day, and I don't want those. Y'all, I don't like emails every day. I am not going to send you emails every day. But I do try and share things sometimes, other different work-life integration tips. I try and share information about, you know, how to grow as the professional working woman that you are. And so if you are interested in getting those, again, and the other tips, then feel free to go to the website. But I'm going to share tip number 1, and I talked about this before, but set priorities that reflect your values. So many times we run on other people's schedules and we don't really set the priorities that really reflect our values and what we want done. So think about what your values are, and then you set your priorities based on those. I mean, in the day, there can be a million things that you're charged with to do in a day. The question is, what's going to get done and what's not going to get done? Well, if you prioritize what needs to get done and what's important to you, you'll get those things done. So just a couple quick tips. I start off, I have to make a to-do list. I start mine on Sundays. Sundays, I do kind of a brain dump. I do a to-do list. Based on my to-do list, I prioritize my list. And then I divide my list into sections. I do what must do, should do, nice to do. I also figure out what I have to do personally and what I can delegate to someone else and what actually, you know, really probably doesn't even need to be on my list. And I'll talk about delegation in a minute. But if you can actually pull together all the things that are on your to-do list and then prioritize them and then pick out really what needs to be done and has to be done by you, that's a way that'll free you up to actually get some other things done that you want. 2, I said plan the work and work the play, and then work your plan. So schedule time to get things done. I'm really big on schedules, probably a little bit anal to an extent. But I put everything on my calendar. So you're going to see a court date on my calendar. You're going to see a speaking engagement on my calendar, but you're also going to see chaperoning my kid's trip. You're going to see a massage. You're going to see getting my nails done. You're going to see my meditation time. Because if you have a calendar, like if you have a schedule, so say you have something to do in your business, and you have a meeting. That meeting's going to be on your calendar. You're going to go to that meeting. You're going to be on time. You're going to be present. The things that are important to you, aren't they just important as that business meeting that you have? So if you put a massage on there at Thursday at 4 o'clock, nothing else is going to get scheduled. You're going to get there. You're going to have that time and do things that are important to you. If you put that date night with your husband on there, then all the things that y'all got going on, you're not going to put other things in before and say, oh, okay, we're tired. We're just not going to do date night tonight. If you put it on there, you expect it, you're going to get it done. Always remember, limit time-wasting activities and people. Don't forget and people. Y'all know there are people in your life that probably don't deserve the time that you give them. Honestly. So get to the point where you're limiting them. Doesn't mean you have to cut people out of your life. It doesn't mean you have to cut things out of your life that, other people like for you to do. But you got to understand, again, what your priorities are and figure out a way to limit them. I'm very big on understanding what deserves my time and what doesn't. And it doesn't mean that other things aren't important to other people and that I don't want to support what they're doing, but it might not be really in the season that I'm in right now, may not be worth my time. Love this, and I think Terry might have talked about this a little bit, but I love this quote, but the tip is surround yourself with like-minded individuals. But the quote here says, behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. Y'all agree? Okay. I'm going to tell you, I couldn't do half the things I do without my tribe of women who have my back, whether it is sending me a text saying, hey, I know you've got such and such going on today, go get them, girl. Or, they know that I've had a hard day and they're like, okay, I know so-and-so ticked you off today, screw them, go on with something else. You got those women who no matter what, they're behind you. You may not talk to them every day, but with technology and text, you probably can touch bases with them a lot. But I know when I need them, they're there. I know when I have another idea that they're not going to say, Tameika, you already do 100 million things. Why are you adding something else? But they're going to say, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. What can I do to support you? And those are the types of folks that you need, because so many times we have people who are in our ear who are telling us what we can and cannot do. We've got to get to the point where we're surrounding ourselves with like-minded people who are like, yeah, your dreams are big and bold, and I say, go get it. You can get that done. And they're there to support you in getting it done. Tip 5, instead of multitasking, practice production time and look for opportunities to overlap activities. So this perfect picture, the no is this woman that is juggling everything. She's got the baby bottle, she's got the book, she's got the laptop, she's got the world, all that stuff. But then you see me in my little Zen pose with my 2-year-old when he was about 6 weeks old. I was 44 when I had him. Yeah, you can say, oh. And, losing weight at 30 and losing weight at 44 is a lot different. And so I couldn't wait till, I finished, he got a little bit older where I could kind of leave him and go working out. I had to start working out, but I needed that quality time with him. So I found a way that I could work out and take him with me. So think about ways that you can do that. If you are a soccer mom and your kids got, this event, but you want to work out, then think about, taking them to soccer practice, and while they're in soccer practice, run around the gym, you get your workout in. Or if you're figuring out, one of the big things I talked about bringing my kids with me a lot of times, sometimes, you don't have a babysitter, you've got to do stuff with your kids, but you might have something else. I have people who always want to meet with me at networking meetings. I now get people, especially if they have kids, I'm like, okay, you want to meet with me? No, we're not going to meet at 9 o'clock for coffee. Why don't we meet at 4:30 at the park? Our kids can play and we can talk. So think about ways that you can actually overlap activities and then it'll dedicate your time. Tip 6, unplug and spend some quiet time alone. You gotta have some me time. So no matter how much you love to do things with other people, we know that we're not gonna be good to other people if we're not taking care of ourselves. So whether that means, taking a walk for you, getting a massage is that's for me. I love that. Getting a massage, meditating, reading, whatever that is for you, find out what that is and don't let anything else take priority over that. Make sure that you spend time and you have that time to do that. Unplug, no texting, no TV, no letting people interrupt you. Tip 7, don't compare your life with others. And this is really, really big, especially nowadays. There's so much going on. Everybody's watching social media. I say people's highlight reel, what people are putting out there. And you're like, okay, well, gosh, if Tameika can do it. I get people tell me all that time, oh my gosh, just watching your feed makes me tired. I saw you were up at 5 o'clock and you were delivering things at the polls, and then you went to go speak somewhere, then you had a radio thing, and oh my gosh, you did so much. Don't look at what I'm doing and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it too. Yes, you can do it too, but you might not do it the same way I do it, and that's okay. Too many times we're looking at what other people are doing and we're comparing ourselves and thinking something must be wrong with us if we're not getting exactly done what they're doing. What they're doing is, you don't know how they're doing it, what else help they might have. Do what works for you. And then I'm just going to read you these 2 quotes because I just love them to death. The first one says, every minute you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a minute you spend wasting your own. Okay, that's a drop the mic moment, right? The second one I love is that the reason why we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. So yeah, what people are putting on social media is what they want you to know. Half of it ain't even true, I can tell you that. And then the other half isn't happening the way they want you to think it does. So just don't compare yourself to anybody else. Be happy for them. Celebrate their wins and all the wonderful things they're doing, but you make what works for you work for you, and don't worry about what somebody else is doing. Tip 8, be okay with putting yourself first. And this is so important. As women, we want to be everything to everybody. But we can't do that unless we put ourselves first and we take care of ourselves. And that is okay. Some people say it's being selfish. I say it's survival of the fittest. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to do all the great things that you are destined to do. So a couple tips here. Learn to say no. And I think somebody said that earlier, but learn to say no. No is not a bad word. Actually, no is a great, great word. It's a 2-letter word that we all need to have in our vocabulary. And it's a complete sentence. No. See? It's a complete sentence. You don't have to explain to anybody or anything. Just say no. And then I said, don't acquiesce to every request that comes your way. But another tip, if it doesn't fit with your priorities or align with your priorities, then it's okay for you not to do it. But I have some people say, well, Tameika, I know, but people are depending on me. Well, if you really feel like you have to help them with something, then maybe find someone else that can help them. Like I get people all the time say, oh, Tameika, I have this going on. Can you come speak? Well, the blessing that since I've been building this part of my business, I am speaking all the time and I'm out of town all the time. So I can't always do the little events that people want me to come to. I might support their event. I might want to, donate or help them, but I can't do it. But hey, how about so-and-so? They would be a great speaker. Or boards. How many of you guys get asked to be on a board like every single week? Somebody's asking you. All the time because you're so good at what you do. So it doesn't mean you have to be on their board. Figure out, okay, well, no, I really can't take on anything else right now. But hey, what about so-and-so? They're looking for ways to get more involved in the community. Let me connect you guys. I'm sure that person will be great for you. So if you do feel, again, no is a complete sentence, but if you do feel like, oh, I got to help them out, help them figure out how do they get done what they want without you personally being the one that does it. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. And the reality is you can only do so much, and so if you take on more than you actually can handle, you're not only going to disappoint others, but you're actually going to disappoint yourself as well because you're going to feel bad that you didn't get things done. So learn to say no and take some things off your plate. Tip number 9, this is my favorite tip, and I say hire your weakness. And what I mean here is where I talked about delegation. everything that's on your to-do list doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one that does it. I mean, who has to grocery shop? How many people have grocery shopping on the list? I mean, well, you got to eat, right? Your family has to eat. So you got to grocery shop, right? So it's a task that has to be done. Does not mean that you have to do it. I have gotten addicted to shopping apps that people will shop for you and then they'll deliver it to your house. That is the best tool ever. I am sitting in a meeting on a Sunday afternoon and I'm like, click, 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 click. I get home, 20 minutes later, my groceries just miraculously appear and I have something to cook. I didn't spend an hour and a half in the grocery store getting things that I probably really didn't need, but it got done. So figure out kind of some things that either you don't like to do or some things that you're not that great at and find a way to hire that out or delegate it to someone else. It saves you a whole lot of time. And then the last tip I want to share with you today is about practicing gratitude. And I put it last because it's my favorite and it really should be first, but this really is my drop the mic moment is no matter what, we've got to recognize that all of our lives are not going to be perfect, but they're perfect for us. And even though there's stuff that might be happening, I mean, your business might be growing, it might not be growing at the level you want it to. You might have lost a client. You might be, really stressed out about other things that some people want to have on you. But you have a lot of amazing things that are happening in your life. And you got to just take time to be thankful and grateful for what you have. Doesn't mean that you don't want more, you won't keep pushing for more. I mean, who am I to say? I'm like, okay, I've hit this goal. What's the next one? And I'm always going to something else. Doesn't mean I'm not grateful. I hit that goal and I sit and I'm grateful. I'm thankful every day. I wake up every morning. I thank the Lord for everything, all my blessings. And then I go every night and I keep a gratitude journal. Every single night I write down at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I make sure that I'm talking about not just, I'm grateful that I have a job, I'm grateful for my great family, I'm grateful for my health, all those things I'm grateful for, but I also say I'm grateful for the fact that, today was a beautiful day that I was able to take some time and look at the stars, or I was able to take a walk. But be grateful for all of things because that gratitude will keep you going when things are tough and will also inspire you to keep going when you want to drive for something else. So with that said, again, I want to share with you again, the website is possibilitiesinstitute.com. There, if you go in and put in your information, there's an automatic download to get some other work-life integration tips, just some practical things that work for me that I'll share with you if you go there. And then what I want to end with is, again, what I began with is, what is your why? Once you understand why you're driven, why you want to have the business, why you want to work in the community, why you have things why you're giving conferences, what is your why? If your why is bigger than you, no matter what you have going on, you will be successful at it. I say my why is my family, so I know what that is. So remember what your why is and keep that in your mind, and then keep letting that driving you. So with that said, stay connected with me. These are all the ways to stay connected with me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And remember, work-life balance is not achievable, so don't beat up yourself, but start practicing work-life integration, and I promise you, you will start being less stressed, more relaxed, and definitely fearless. Thank you.